Hello, I'm Ari Richter and welcome back to lecture. Drawing as a verb describes the act of pulling, pushing, or dragging a marking tool across a two-dimensional surface. The lines or marks that remain serve as a document of this action. These marks can vary greatly depending on the type of marking tool used or the method of application. The image that results from this marking process is then referred to as a drawing. Drawings can be broken down into two categories, receptive and projective. Receptive drawing describes when an artist attempts to capture the appearance of something observed from our physical world. For this reason, any representational drawing observed from life is also an example of receptive drawing. The student work of the 20th century Spanish artist Pablo Picasso serves as a good example of receptive drawing. Picasso was enrolled in the Royal Academy of San Fernando in Madrid. As with most academies of the time, Picasso was taught the strict mimetic tradition of drawing from live models and plaster casts. The idea was that drafting is a skill that any student could master by following a series of strict rules. As his career progressed, Picasso began abandoning the receptive drawing practice entirely. Instead of drawing from the world around him, Picasso began drawing from his imagination. This type of drawing is referred to as projective drawing. Compared to receptive drawing, projective drawings usually have to make generalizations about the subject being depicted. Even if Picasso had drawn images of hundreds of bulls from life, the moment he draws one from memory, it can only be an approximation of what a bull looks like. Due to this limitation, projective drawings are often drawn in exaggerated or distorted ways to acknowledge the limitations of this method. For this reason, abstract drawings are often projective in nature. And of course, non-objective drawings are also projective because they come straight from the artist's imagination with no reference to the observable world. There are three different ways that drawings can function. First, a drawing can be a form of documentation. In this way, a drawing can serve as a notation, sketch, or record. This notation can be of something that an artist observed, remembered, or imagined. Visual artists often want to record their thoughts, and they do this by keeping sketchbooks. Sketchbooks are generally kept for the artist's reference and serve a similar role to that of a writer's journal. The Italian Renaissance artist Leonardo da Vinci was renowned for the large number of sketchbooks he kept. Leonardo took a great interest in the study of human proportions as illustrated in his sketch, The Vitruvian Man. To learn more about human anatomy, he would also take part in medical dissections as illustrated in these sketches from observations of the human heart. He also sketched images of great machines from his imagination. Even though the technology did not exist at the time, Leonardo is credited for coming up with the concepts of modern machinery such as the tank and the helicopter. Drawings can also function as studies or preparations for a larger or more complex work. One very traditional form of this preparation is sketches for paintings. Michelangelo needed to create many studies for his painted fresco on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Because buon fresco is such a fast-drying process, Michelangelo did not have the leisure to work through the final orientations of his figures and arrangements as he painted them. The more preparation he could do, the more successful the outcome, and the less frustration would result. For his powerful black and white painting entitled Guernica, Pablo Picasso made at least 45 preliminary studies. Each drawing served as a sketch for the next drawing until the artist felt he was best prepared to depict the tragic events of 1937. The subject of this painting is the Nazi bombing of the Spanish town Guernica, which killed hundreds of unarmed civilians. In the case of the contemporary installation team, Christo and Jean-Claude, drawings function as plans for their sculptural works. Christo and Jean-Claude create public art projects that take a lot of money to finance. Part of their working process includes raising the money to fund their ambitious projects. In the case of their Gates project, which was on display in Central Park in 2005, they created many sketches to imagine the finished piece. This helped to crystallize their vision, and they were able to sell the sketches in advance to help bankroll the project. Drawings can also serve as sketches for architecture. Because buildings cost so much to erect, investors want to see finished plans before any ground is broken. Architectural drawings are usually drawn in perspective, including things like trees, cars, and people, to display the building's scale. Even architectural renderings need to start somewhere, though. Believe it or not, this loose sketch served as the inspiration for Frank Gehry's Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao, Spain. After going through many other renderings and models, it was transformed into the complex, three-dimensional structure that stands today. Filmmakers often use drawings called storyboards to plan out the scenes of their films. Like buildings, films take a lot of money and labor to complete. Having scenes planned from pre-production prevents any unnecessary confusion or wasted funds. Although most directors hire artists to draw their storyboards for them, the American filmmaker Ridley Scott is a rare example of a director who draws his own. As illustrated in this storyboard from his film Blade Runner, Scott is an excellent draftsperson, and this is one more way that he can keep control of his artistic vision. The contemporary American artist Matthew Barney uses film as his medium and also must create sketches to ensure the quality of his final product. In this case, he was preparing for a scene from his film Cremaster 2, where he orchestrated a sort of ceremonial dance involving actual buffalo circling a bull rider and bull. Without this drawing notation for this very surreal scene, the buffalo wranglers and the bull rider may not have understood the director's plans. Finally, a drawing can also function as a finished work unto itself. Although drawings have been traditionally in preparation for a final piece, many artists since the 20th century have created drawings that are themselves the finished work. This artist, Via Selmans, has created much work since the 1960s that challenges the conventional role of drawings. Selmans comes from the photorealist tradition like her contemporaries Chuck Close and Gerhard Richter. Instead of portraiture, Selmans tends to concentrate on expansive spaces such as ocean surfaces and desert floors. She is known to spend many years developing a single small drawing until it conveys what she is ultimately seeking. There's a real sense of minutiae in these drawings. Even though these images capture a split second of an ever-changing subject, Selmans labors over that fleeting moment to instill it with a sense of individuality and preciousness.